common argument I see is that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is becoming too cluttered for its own good. Any franchise is dependent on a growing fan base, and if that franchise has too many movies, TV shows to watch to get the full impact, then the new fans will be instantly turned off. That eventually they will have to do a universal reboot just so people aren't lost in all the characters and plot points. I can see why people might have this opinion. We get 2 new MCU movies a year, and pretty soon they'll go to a schedule where they release 3 a year. Plus, TV series like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, and Daredevil are all part of the same universe. It can feel very overwhelming, but it honestly doesn't have to be. Comic books have many more ongoing monthly titles than the MCU has franchises. Even if you add up all the TV series and movies, it's nowhere near the number of titles Marvel releases monthly, and all of those monthly comic books all exist in the same universe. But you don't have to be familiar with the Thor comic book to read Spider-Man. A comic book universal-wide reboot isn't a thing for Marvel until the recent Secret War storyline. That is perhaps why people are now discussing the movie universe getting a reboot. But the thing to remember is that Marvel maintained the same continuity from 1961 until 2015 without a universe-wide reboot. Sure, they might eventually reboot a character like the infamous One More Day arc, but not something that affects the whole universe. Hell, they even wrote a lot of the World War II era timely comic stories into the Marvel comic book universe. But since Marvel is rebooting their comic book universe, does this mean they are planning to do the same thing with their movie universe just to ensure new viewers aren't lost in the shuffle? The thing to remember is that every single one of these movies has to stand on its own to work. However, part of why this film universe is successful is because other movies feed into the overarching narrative. So if you're familiar with the whole thing, you get a lot of the Easter eggs that pop up in the films. Heck, there are still Easter eggs in the MCU that only people familiar with the comic books will get.
Zola's algorithm is a program for choosing Insight's targets.
What targets?
You, a TV anchor in Cairo, the Undersecretary of Defense, a high school valedictorian in Iowa City, Bruce Banner, Stephen Strange, anyone who's a threat.
But you don't have to be intimately familiar with Iron Man 3 to follow Captain America the Winter Soldier. Heck, you could skip Iron Man 3 and still enjoy Captain America the Winter Soldier without any issues. Every franchise must stand on its own. But there is one sore thumb of a franchise that doesn't require you watch all the previous MCU entries, but you will get more enjoyment out of it if you do. But before we get to that, let's say you love Iron Man and want to see everything featuring that character. But for some reason you hate Captain America and want to avoid his character as much as possible. Keep in mind, this is an example, not my opinion. Captain America is currently my favorite Avenger. To become as familiar with Iron Man as possible without watching anything extra, you'd have to obviously start with Iron Man, then Iron Man 2, then the Avengers, then Iron Man 3, then Avengers Age of Ultron, then Captain America Civil War. Then it's speculation, but probably Infinity War Part 1 and 2, but that's just speculation. The Iron Man movies should be fairly self-contained to Iron Man without a whole lot of other stuff. However, Avengers 1 and 2, and especially Captain America 3, will have a lot of stuff someone only familiar with the Iron Man franchise will not know about. It's information that will likely be given to the audience in a quick expository line if they need to know it.
I am Loki of Asgard, and I am burdened with glorious purpose.
Loki, brother of Thor.
The key thing to know is if you're purely following only one character, then any films outside of that character's main franchise will likely have stuff in it that's important to your character, but will also have stuff in it you won't know about.
You know, you should come by Stark Tower sometime. Top 10 floors, all R&D. You'd love it. It's Candyland.
Thanks, but the last time I was in New York, I kind of broke Harlem.
But you will know everything you need to know about that one specific character. It would be completely unfair to complain about not seeing the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D. mentioned in Age of Ultron when you didn't follow either Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Captain America franchise. If you are interested in that arc, you should go back and watch them. And even though Age of Ultron didn't show you that event, it assumed you didn't see it as well. And that's why they have that throwaway line. Avengers is the major franchise to be affected by all these characters merging together because essentially Avengers film franchise is your major crossover movie event, where the heroes of the previous franchises meet up to take down some force that would be impossible for them to tackle in a solo movie. So when you watch Age of Ultron, you see a continuation of Iron Man 3, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Thor the Dark World, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the original Avengers, and to a very minor extent, Guardians of the Galaxy. You can walk into an Avengers film without seeing everything that came before it, but you can't be upset because it brought up elements you didn't know about. Of course it will. It's It's an intersection for the MCU as we know it, where characters and stories merge. Now, if you feel knowing story plot points from the other movies was so vital that you couldn't enjoy the movie you were watching, that would certainly be an issue. But I don't think Avengers Age of Ultron suffers from that. All the information you need to follow this movie going into it is that Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and the Hulk came together to fight an army of aliens and stop them from conquering the Earth. Their leader had a scepter with the ability to control people's minds. The superheroes stopped the alien invasion, but numerous alien artifacts are abandoned on Earth. The villain's scepter is taken to S.H.I.E.L.D. Immediately, the only movie you need to watch to catch up on all of the major plot points for Age of Ultron is the first Avengers. Maybe the Marvel one-shot Item 47 to introduce the idea that alien shit is all over the place, but that's pretty easy to guess by looking at the end of the Avengers. Probably the second most important movie would be Captain America the Winter Soldier, which gives us a mid-credit scene where we see that Hydra took the scepter from S.H.I.E.L.D. But that is not vitally needed because of some expository lines between Captain America and Baron Strucker in Age of Ultron, so all you need to know going into Age of Ultron is the first Avengers, and you're good. Now there's tons of Easter eggs in Age of Ultron linking it to past and future movies from other franchises. Most obvious being the party scene which features War Machine and Falcon. A person familiar with the MCU will know immediately who these people are, but do you need past knowledge of these characters to enjoy this scene? No. After all, the scene makes it clear that Falcon and Captain America are extremely good friends, and War Machine is a superhero who deals with lower tier stuff than the Avengers members typically deal with. Point is, you wouldn't skip Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back and expect to walk into Return of the Jedi and catch the meaning behind everything instantly. That's something you get used to as a comic book fan. When they do major crossover events, you may not understand every moment of those books, because you simply cannot follow every moment of every hero in the comic book Marvel universe. But if you happen to follow a certain book, you are likely to get a little Easter egg in the crossover talking about your book. That is the current advantage of the cinematic universe right now, is that it is still fairly easy to catch up. But as more and more television shows are released, it may get harder to stay up to date with every detail. But as long as the big crossover events are still entertaining, who cares if you miss a couple Easter eggs? As long as you still had fun with the film, you can't complain too much. And if those little Easter eggs do bug you, find out where it's from and watch the movie or show. That's how comic books have worked for decades, and it's how the MCU will most likely have to work the further we get into it. And there will be people who are turned off by the franchise simply not wanting to jump into such a big commitment in viewing time just to get every piece of the puzzle. But at the same time, there will be people who will happily jump in the middle if the movie looks good to them, and then deciding to check out the back issues, movies, just so they can see all the fun details they missed before. That's how comic books have run for decades. And let's face it, the current MCU is a group of movie franchises being constructed like a comic book universe. If comic books can survive for decades with their decades of backstory, surely the MCU can last a while longer than just Phase 3. After all, if these movies just made a fraction of what they're making right now, they would still make plenty of money to keep on going. Alright, as a lot of you guys have known, about a month or so ago, my regular editing machine died out, and I've been trying to think of a way to get my old computer back up to snuff so I can edit videos together for you guys. And every time, pretty much life gets in the way every time. You know, every time it seems like I'll get a little bit of money so I can invest in it, something happens and that money's gone, and this is just recurring over and over again now. So what I'm going to do is ask you guys to help me out. If you go to my Kickstarter page, which I will have in the description below, you will be able to help me out. If each of one of you guys donates exactly $1, I will hit more than 2 times my what I'm asking for. And pretty much what I'm asking for is just parts to upgrade my computer. I can upgrade a computer just fine. I just need the money for parts. And once that happens, I can make videos for you guys a hell of a lot faster. Right now, it's really slow and rather painful for me to put together videos. If you guys donate, what will happen is there's several prizes. The most basic being you can get a commentary track with me and my daughter just yakking while we watch Jurassic Park. If you like stuff like that, we can make more of them, of course. Oh, and the other thing is you can, if you donate more and more, what you get is pretty much control of the show. Not really what I'll say, but what I'll do. You get your credit, you get your name in the credits. You can get your name before I even start the show, like right at the beginning. You can request exactly what I review. You can even get a little advertisement spot for yourself right at the beginning of my show. I'm getting more and more viewers, so that little advertising spot, that'll be valuable. So please, please, please go to my Kickstarter page and help me get my computer set up so I can get more content to you guys faster.